They believed that Christine would ride for Jim Jones no matter what. But today she is not riding. Instead, she is begging while sobbing on her knees in the middle of traffic. Why? Given that just hours before, Jim Jones had been hauled out of his studio, arrested, humiliated, and so loudly that paramedics had to remove her off the pavement? Exposed, and you know who started it all. Camron's employees, not the media or the police officer's family. They leaked an effing instead of releasing a video. Chrissy was unaware that all of the voice notes, deleted messages, and security footage from a hotel had been leaked on a burner account that is already piling up, views like wildfire. And to make matters worse, the voice on the video wasn't Jim's, but it was someone who was too close to Chrissy, and what they were saying made the entire relationship feels like a huge setup. This isn't hip-hop drama and love, rather it's betrayal, on a scale for which no one was ready, and now the internet harem is erupting, and Chrissy just muttered something that made even the officers stand still. He warned me that this would occur, if I ever told the truth. But right when everyone believed Chrissy's situation couldn't get any worse, it took a terrible turn. According to a number of claims that Camron's cousin, a former private security guard for a renowned corporation, was following her. Not by admirers or photographers, but by apoliticians are now following Chrissy's whereabouts for reasons no one is willing to publicly acknowledge, according to a private monitoring team. One anonymous insider even said, "Nobody is certain what that something is, but they're not. Just watching her, they're waiting for something." Chrissy's terrified expression as she was seen pacing back and forth and muttering on the phone at a petrol station in New Jersey was the entire story, and this is where things get out of hand. Camron's aunt, who used to fight with Chrissy in the early 2000s, wrote a handwritten message to a gossip blog alleging a backstage incident, claiming that Chrissy was the one who alerted police to if Jim's meeting with former crew members who were under FBI surveillance is real. It's more than betrayal, it's war. Let's take a moment to consider this. The letter is signed, dated, and written angrily. One sentence literally says Chrissy always knew the streets. So this isn't some tabloid rumor. Weren't made for Jim, and now she's acting as a cleanup crew to protect herself. The streets were filled with blobs, and Chrissy, the informant, turned into a if El Chapo's lady snitched and wept on Instagram, one user said, describing the topic that was trending on Black Twitter overnight. One person said, "She's crying too much, which is a sign of guilt, not sadness." Another said, "Live after I ain't believing it." Regarding the videotape that went viral on the internet shortly after this letter was published, Camron's family uploaded what they called the Last Straw video, which is edited like a teaser for a Netflix documentary. Starts with security footage from a rooftop bar in Manhattan that shows Jim providing a mysterious letter is delivered to a man in a robe. There is no music, just a spooky silence. 5 minutes later, the camera cuts to Chrissy exiting an Uber, searching the neighborhood with concern, and then all of a sudden there are bright lights, FBI coats, and a man in handcuffs. However, Camron's cousin revealed the catch. The entire story has been twisted, and this is what the public didn't see. She knew she led him there. Are we witnessing a series of ideas? Started to flood Reddit, YouTube, and even TikTok. One well-known post broke it down like a movie scene in which Chrissy urges Jim to reconcile with his former associates, Scene 2. Knowing that the Fed has been observing, she makes the error of suggesting a time and place. Scene 3. She arrives crying, wondering what will happen, and everyone loved it. Even Mama Scott, who has previously refrained from commenting on a number of challenging circumstances, published a mysterious piece titled, "Sometimes Silence Shields the Guilty." Fans are certain that was directed at Chrissy. Let's now discuss the alleged financial paper trail. A number of unverified reports claim that 2 days before to Jim's arrest, Chrissy opened a new offshore account. The deposit wasn't believed by anyone, but one user sent a cool $250,000 to a shell company run by one of Camron's aunts, even posted a picture of the purported transfer along with the explanation that she cashed in. Her lover is demanding money and influence. The rumor is that you had those claiming that Chrissy is a CIA spy. Others claim that Camron's relatives tricked her into thinking Jim was about to leave her for a younger person, so she panicked and struck a deal. In any case, the situation is more repulsive than we have ever seen. And if you believe Jim is unaware of it, Insiders claim he is refusing to. The woman who kept him down through career comebacks, label conflicts, and a dozen near breakups is now refusing to take her calls while he is in jail. As the court date approaches, she is seen attending church twice in a week, wearing sunglasses at night, and even accepting her phone calls isn't that cold. She is seen walking with her head down. Those who know her say she isn't eating or sleeping and is always looking at her phone as if she's waiting for more. Shocking revelation. And just when we thought the story was over, Camron's sister entered. Yes, you read correctly. She posted, "A black and white you knew better," and a broken heart emoji are the only captions on the photo of Chrissy and Jim. Within 2 hours, the post had over 80,000 likes, and the comments were completely chaotic, with some asking for Chrissy to come clean and others supporting her, desired a full-scale reunion show to reveal everything. Chrissy was known for her resilient exterior, the woman who had weathered the storm of love. And although their relationship with Jim appeared to be unstoppable, things were far from ideal behind closed doors in their home. She had supported Jim for years during his legal troubles on his side, but the public was unaware of the arguments, the late-night arguments, or the private concerns, neighborhood ties, and the constant dangers that loomed over him. But as soon as those shackles were fastened around his wrists, it seemed as though the universe. As she stood outside the courthouse, her world fell apart, not just because Jim was imprisoned, but also because she had destroyed the life she thought she had built. The same people she thought she could trust had betrayed her because of what she didn't know and what had been kept hidden from her. Now, as social media erupted in rumors as cameras flashed, and Camron's family, the same individuals Jim had loved as his own, dropped a heartbreaking piece of information that, hours after Jim's arrest began, no one was ready for what came next. First, a string of private conversations between Jim and some of his closest confidants were in the hands of Camron's staff. Next came the recordings, which were first grainy but clearly authentic. In one of them, Jim can be seen having a heated argument with an. The weight of these revelations was like a tidal wave, with an unidentified entity openly discussing plans unrelated to his life with Chrissy. And Chrissy found herself in its wake, drowning in confusion and anger as her phone buzzed nonstop, one message after another streaming in amazement. Camron's family had evidence that may expose both Jim and her, which was shocking news. It was a betrayal unlike any other. Chrissy tried to remain strong, but it wasn't long before those who had previously thought about her family were suddenly behind this fatal leap. As the media continued to flood, the people couldn't get enough of Twitter, Instagram, and every other platform, and the tears started to fall and the mask of calmness slipped away. Responses flooded the channel, with some expressing sympathy for Chrissy and others accusing her of participating in Jim's schemes. The Globe was so hungry that Chrissy was compelled to address a query she was unable to comprehend. How much of Jim's life had she actually known at this point, that Chrissy had been portrayed in the media as the tragic character whose devotion had led her down a dark and horrible path, but the story wasn't over. The pictures and texts were just the Chrissy had to confront a new struggle back at the Yee house. The public was interested in her private life, and the woman who had the reality TV queen was now the subject of a ruthless stare in this growing suspicion. Every friend, acquaintance, and everyone who had ever been in their life was suddenly a possible suspect. Jim's arrest and the controversy. The beginning was the breakdown of a life Chrissy had built on shaky foundations, but everything weren't adding up. Why had Camron's family held off on disclosing that M was the real reason for the leap if Jim was involved in something so serious? The following day, a surprise visit to the lawyer's office revealed that Chrissy was trying to clear her own name in addition to Jim's. Unexpectedly, Chrissy entered the antiseptic room with the burden of the case bearing down on her. But what the attorney said next would alter the entire story's trajectory. "There's something you need to know," he whispered softly, his voice barely audible. "We've had eyes on Camron's family members have been constructing a case against Jim for a while, and it seems like they've been waiting for the ideal moment to attack. But I'm not sure if this evidence they published was meant for general consumption, or if it's a part of something much bigger." Chrissy's heart pounded while she listened, her mind racing with worries about who was orchestrating it all and what Camron's family trying to succeed. And above all, was Jim the person she believed him to be? Or had love blinded her for all these years? On Chrissy grew, The welder leakage became more frequent, and the pressure to keep her composed was almost unbearable. But despite all, the feeling that something was missing persisted, and she was unable to shake it. Finally, late one night, she made the most important discovery. While looking through her phone, Chrissy received a new message from an unknown number. It was brief and said, "The truth is worse than you thought you've been." Set up, Chrissy clicked the connection with unsteady hands, and she was astounded to watch a brand new film that had never been seen before. The person she didn't anticipate seeing on the television this time was one of Jim's closest friends, who was caught in a conversation with Camron himself. It was obvious that Jim was never meant to be the fall guy. This was a calculated maneuver that would destroy the entire enterprise that Jim had worked so hard to. When the television went blank, Chrissy was sitting in the background, oblivious to the game being played just in front of her. Came crashing down again. She wasn't merely embroiled in a dispute. She was at the time Chrissy saw that last movie, and everything she believed she knew. Her life, Jim's, and even herself were in ruins. The reality, if you can call it that, was much more pernicious than she could have ever imagined. Envisioned Jim as more than just the man she had supported for years. He was a component of a more hazardous, bigger game that had been painstakingly planned by. In the midst of it all, Chrissy was caught between loyalty, deceit, and an overwhelming desire for the people she believed she could trust. Reality. The unexpected. Video was disturbing Camron, who had previously referred to Jim as his brother and was seen grinning with one of Jim's closest friends. The conversation appeared informal at first, but it was clear that there was a serious threat. They weren't just talking about business as usual. They were plotting something far bigger. Chrissy was unaware of the chaos encircling her while she played the part of the encouraging girlfriend, oblivious to the deeper urges at play in Chrissy's. Mind was racing with unanswerable questions as she watched the tape. Why hadn't she seen the warning signs? How long had Camron's family been there, planning this betrayal, and what role did she play in it all? Was she only a pawn, a tool, in a game she was unaware she was playing? After the video went viral, messages began to pour in. And while Chrissy's name was on everyone's lips, she didn't receive the support she had hoped for. Chrissy was unable to continue staring at the computer because the comment sections were rife with accusations, condemnations, and divisive speculation. They asked how she had been aware of Jim's illegal behavior towards her for a long time. And during the chaos, the person she needed the most, Jim, was imprisoned, and his silence left Chrissy was not one to back down, even if she had gone through worse. Her entire life had been scrutinized by the public, and if there were, the woman who had made a living from reality TV drama and had fought valiantly to maintain her position was one thing she knew how to do: survive. Exactly that secret's private. Life was abruptly brought into the public eye in the most dramatic manner possible. The first step was obvious in the shadow of Chrissy made a decision that night that would affect everything. She went straight to Camron, a move that may ultimately make or break her. Christy wasn't scared that she would learn the information she needed to know, but Camron wasn't just any man. He was a man of authority with his own purpose. To get straight to the point, the phone conversation was tight. Chrissy's voice trembled as every word, pause, and stillness between them sounded like a mind about to blow up. Initially, but she quickly added, "I know what you've been doing. I know you've been behind everything, including the leaks, the movies, and the lies, and I want to." The other end of the queue was silent for a long time, and Chrissy thought he was going to hang up, but suddenly Camron said, "Know why you're doing this to Jim?" He added in a calm, low voice. "You don't get it, Chrissy. It's not about Jim. It's never been about Jim. It's about you, and your loyalty are the ones who have been in the way during the entire time. You have been covering for him and protecting him, but you were unaware of the full. What do you mean by Jim's going too far?" Camron went on to say that he's been playing tricks on people. Did you hear Chrissy feel the tears pour from her cheeks? Chrissy's hold tightened around the foam. And you have no idea that you've been blinded by love. It's too late, so what do you do? Camron responded coldly. "I'm not destroying anyone. I'm just disclosing the truth which Jim has been saying. I thought you were trying to hurt him and ruin us." Chrissy was left standing in the center of the room, her thoughts racing when the phone abruptly ended. Camron had just confessed to everything, but he wasn't telling her everything. There was a bigger scheme going on, and she wasn't going to watch in silence while everyone else surrounding her ruined the life she had fought for. In the days that followed, Chrissy learned more about Camron's background, relationships, and actual Camron's family and many other powerful individuals have been operating behind the scenes, utilizing Jim as a pawn in a larger. It was about money control and a power struggle that spanned sectors. It wasn't just about old grudges or street beef. However, in her quest for answers, Chrissy discovered something that would alter everything. The evidence that had been made public that emails, pictures, and films had been altered, just revealing Jim was intended to break Chrissy's heart and get her to doubt all she had ever known about the fight for her life and her love. Chrissy, it's far from over. Refuse to let Camron or anybody else take away her possessions without a battle. As the story develops, it seems that we are merely grazing the exterior of this explosive story has finally arrived. Truthful about her involvement in Jim's apprehension, or is this the most serious betrayal of trust? This story is undoubtedly far from completed, but we'd like to know what you think happened. Was Chrissy and an innocent observer entangled in a situation? Or is there something much more profound at work? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below, down, and remember to click the like button if you're equally shocked. Due to this development, as we are, you don't want to miss the next action, so make sure to ring that and subscribe. Alert. Bell to ensure you're the first to know when the next major thing will surpass life. You are aware that we are on top of everything, providing you with the unadulterated, raw truth. Pay attention, because if you believe, wait for the real deal. This was Crazy Mystery.